I chose to have a shorter sermon today because we have invited the Reverend Jennifer Ackerman, who I'd like to ask to come up now. Who has prepared an amazing time and piece for us today, and who is a preacher also. And I just felt that she, in her own right, is going to be sharing a sermon in her own piece. And I wanted to just give you a voucher off the top of my head, because I know that I don't want to forget. Jennifer holds a Bachelor of Music and Vocal Performance, and she has a Master's of Divinity. She's currently completing her PhD in Theology and Culture, and is an ordained minister in the Presbyterian Church. I've known Jennifer for a very long time. She's actually sang at my ordination as well, and she is a truly gifted woman. We are very excited to have her here today, and with that, I am going to turn the floor over to you, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Tina actually, knowing about my past before this whole pastor thing happened as a theater performer, asked me to come and actually put on my performer hat. And the first thing I said was, well, I need a piano player if I'm going to do that. So I invited my friend Leroy Monk, who flew down here from Berkeley just to be here tonight. So my lifetime dream was to be a singer on Broadway. I was a little girl living in North Dakota, going to sleep at night when 10, 11, 12 years old, dreaming of big lights, the big city. Very cliche start. My dad was a pastor, a Lutheran pastor, my mom a nurse. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and I always felt like I was too big for these country towns. So the first thing I wanted to do was bust out of there. I actually ended up graduating from high school a year early because I couldn't wait to get on. So I moved to the big city of Northfield, Minnesota, south of Minneapolis, where I went to college for a while. A few years later, I ended up in Portland, Oregon, which was my first bigger city. And eventually, through friends of friends in my late 20s, when I felt like I am so old and this is never going to happen, finally, it was time for my dream to come true, and I was going to move to New York City. I studied all the pictures in magazines and books. I memorized the subway map too. It's 1 block north to Macy's and 2 to Brothers Brooks. Manhattan, I prepared for you. You certainly are different from what we have back home, where nothing's over 3 stories high, and no one's in a hurry or wants to roam, but I do. They wonder why. They said I would soon be good and lonely. They said I would sing the homesick blues. So I always keep a ticket in my pocket, a ticket home in my pocket, to do with as I choose. Burn the bridge, bet the store, baby's coming home no more. Not for the life of me. Break the lock, post my bail, done my time, I'm out of jail. Not for the life of me. A life that's gotta be more than a one-light town where the light is always red. Gotta be more than an old ghost town where the ghost ain't in York City. I took the place by storm. I had a temp job as a nanny. I had a temp job as a legal assistant. I had a temp job working for an opera manager. All of that temp stuff was so that I could organize my life around a life of auditions. Many auditions a week, sometimes many auditions a day. This is the primary way that a theatrical performer gets to actually perform. Usually you sing 32 bars, which is about a minute long, and you walk into a little cubicle with maybe the director, probably a casting agent, sometimes it's just you and one other guy eating a sandwich, but whoever it is, that is your time to shine, and you sing as if you're in Carnegie Hall. So my standard audition went a little something like this. Hi, my name is Jennifer Ackerman, and I will be singing for you, this is all very new to me, from Plain and Fancy. This is all very new to me. This is all very fine. This so sunny like, sort of funny like, milk and honey like feeling inside. This is all very new to me, and I'm knocking on wood. What to do? What to say? How to make it go on this way? Wish that I understood, 'cause it all feels so good, so wonderful And then I do something like, ooh, pretty, we'll call you, and I leave, and never hear anything again. So I decided, I don't want to be the, ooh, pretty girl. I need to drama this up a little bit. I need a little more when I go into the audition room. So then I decided to bring a different kind of auditions. And that went a little something like this. Hi, my name is Jennifer Ackerman, and today I'll be singing for you Never from On the 20th Century. Never tell him you heard it here, tell him you heard it clear, tell him if he comes through the door, I will trample through the floor, tell him I'll strangle him, tell him I'll mangle him. Go back with him, here's my reply. I'd rather die. Never. And then I started getting some callbacks. And I sang in regional theaters, I sang in off Broadway, I had a couple of one-woman shows. The second one was called Why Aren't I Famous Yet? And had the same opening number that I sang for you a minute ago that was actually from a show called Thoroughly Modern Millie on Broadway. So I really was, in many ways, living the dreams. My 12-year-old self would have been so proud seeing me walking the streets of Manhattan doing this thing. But as time went on, I started to feel like there's something is not right. Something is off in my soul. This isn't what I thought it would be. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't all that I feel like God has asked me to be. And my 5th Christmas in New York was actually the first Christmas that I spent in New York City. Usually I was traveling somewhere at that time. And my friend Ron was playing Santa Claus in a production of A Miracle on 34th Street at a dinner theater in Ohio. And he was from Portland and didn't have time to go all the way there, so he came to New York City and we had playtime at Christmas in New York City. And we did all the stuff that every good Hallmark Christmas movie has. We went to the shop windows, Macy's shop windows, we went to the skating at Rockefeller Center, we even saw the Christmas Spectacular with the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall. And we went to Christmas Eve church at my church, which was Marble Collegiate Church on the corner of 29th and 5th, home of Norman Vincent Peale and Donald Trump at the time, no longer, I don't think. But Marble Collegiate really did Christmas up big. In fact, it was aired, ironically, on the Hallmark station, often as a Christmas service. So there was all the grand things, the lights, the green instruments, all of that. And Ron and I came in and took our seats with the big crowd, and we started singing with the brass choir and everyone playing together. We were singing, "Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant." And this thought popped into my head. Gee, this is such beautiful music, but it's so loud, no one's going to be able to hear me sing. And I immediately thought, what is wrong with you? Stop, get out, get out, get out. Where did that thought come from? That's the worst thing. How selfish. How can you be so selfish at Christmas in church? Meanwhile, the song ends and we all sit down, and a woman sitting on the end leans over my friend Ron to tap me on the shoulder and say, "You have such a beautiful voice." And I said, "Thank you." And Ron turned to me and said, "What is wrong with you?" What was I rude to her? Yes! And I was so caught up in my head. Now I've done like a triple sin on Christmas, being selfish, being rude to another woman. During the greet your neighbor time, I tried to make it up to her and explain, "I'm so sorry, my head was somewhere else." No, I just wanted you to know what a gift it is to be able to hear you sing. And that phrase, what a gift it is to be able to hear you sing. It's something that has been with me for my whole life, and something that has driven me in positive ways and in negative ways, as I'm sure is the story of really every performer or creative or musician. We've been given these amazing gifts, and they can be used for God's glory, and they can be used in ways that make us turn away. And I knew that Christmas in New York that I needed to realign some things in my life, because I wasn't really the person that I knew God wanted me to be. Well, long story short, I ended up driving back across country and landed at on my sister's couch, who was living in Menlo Park, California at the time. And I ended up with a job at First Presbyterian Church in Berkeley, where I met Lee Wen, among other people. And I had a real major identity crisis. Lee Wen and I had many long talks over tea late at night about what it means to be musicians, Christian musicians, and how to use those gifts wisely. I was working at the church behind the scenes in worship and growing in other ways and learning to understand that God was calling me into other things and to serve perhaps in a more pastoral way. That didn't mean giving up who I was as a musician and as a creative, but taking on a different kind of calling as well. That's how I ended up at Fuller Seminary with an MDiv and becoming a pastor, and the person that I am now. I am still trying to figure out how to integrate all these parts of me. I still have this identity crisis going on, and probably always will. But I think that when I'm able to rest in the knowledge of the gifts that I've been given, not being singular and not being clear-cut in how they are to be used and when they are to be used, but to be open to perhaps God's dreams for me being bigger than my own, then I can rest in the joy of all of those gifts that I've been given, and they can overflow as gifts for others as well. I want to close today with a song that my friend David Sisko, who's a composer in New York and who did all the arrangements for when I was singing in New York, he found out I was coming to seminary back in 2010, and he sent me this song that he'd written. And he said, I think this might be a helpful prayer for you on this next stage of your journey. And he was right. It was a song that made me return to the piano, that made me return to actually using music as a spiritual practice in my own life. And it's a song that reminds me of these gifts that we've given. And I think it is especially appropriate at Christmas. And so I'm just going to end with this song as a prayer of joy and thanksgiving from my own life, and hopefully as a prayer for all of you in your own endeavors as well.